Listen to the music, listen to my body. It's telling you something you should know. Yes, I feel it in my moves. Yes,
I've always been like a runner. Like when I went through that whole phase of like leaving Pennsylvania, going to North Carolina with my mom, and as I'm down there, I get a call from one of my friends up in Pennsylvania. She was one of my best friends from school up there. And she was like, girl, this guy, he works with my husband and he's seen your picture on my mantelpiece and he just wants to meet you so bad. And she was like, girl, he just kept on saying like how beautiful you were and all of that. And he wants to talk to you so bad. He wants your phone number. So I'm like, okay, give it to him. So he calls me like that same day, that evening. And we literally talked on the phone probably till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Like I've never had a relationship. Like I've never had a real relationship. Like this is my first real relationship. And like I loved her before I ever seen her. Like literally, I loved her before I seen her. And like that first conversation, we talked all night and it was one of the most intriguing conversations ever. It's like, this is my soulmate. When I say soulmate, it's S-O-U-L on the spiritual context, and then you have S-O-L-A, and that's soul, singular, one, not 2, 3, 4, like one, and that's her.
So I came up here and I met him. It was like Thanksgiving I came up and literally never came back. He spoiled me that whole weekend. And then I had made up in my mind that I wanted to move forward with that relationship. So he helped me get all my stuff from North Carolina, and I moved in with him back up here to Pennsylvania.
See, but hold on, wait a minute. The first time when she saw me the first time, like the first words out of her mouth literally was, I'm ready to go. It wasn't, hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you. It was straight, I'm ready to go. I'm like, oh, okay.
I just did a long drive.
I'm like, okay, just follow me back to the house then. All right, like, okay, yeah. And that's how.
And he did not look presentable. Like
I didn't.
I thought he was gonna come up looking presentable, so I was kind of thrown off a little bit. He had just got off work.
I worked. I did landscaping. I had on some dirty sweatpants, a dirty t-shirt. Like nothing about me was presentable. I needed a haircut, a shave. It was what? It was on a Wednesday. Like I remember, like literally the Wednesday right before Thanksgiving. So I didn't have time to get to the barbershop because I got off work literally like a few hours before I met her, but everything was closed. So I didn't have a chance to get a haircut, nothing. I was just...
I was like, I'm gonna strangle Denise. She done set me up to the crackhead.
I'm like, this was it. But then we hung out that night. She gave me a shave the next morning. Like I've never let nobody shave me. Like I don't let nobody put a razor on my face. She's the only person I let put a razor on my face. Yeah, gave me a nice shave and everything.
I put everything into my relationship with Umar. He became my family. So we started our relationship, and at first I moved in with him. He was just in a 1-bedroom apartment, and actually he had his son staying with him, and I got pregnant right away. With our daughter Epiphany. Like all the kids, I had 3 kids at the time, and then I was pregnant, and it was we were all like cramped in that 1-bedroom apartment, but we made it work.
I grew up in prison. I came home and I found somebody that can that can give me something and not me always having to give somebody something. We have our own couple businesses, like they in the making, you know what I'm saying? Everything is a step. But she showed me how to take those steps. Like my steps wasn't in that direction. My steps was working for somebody else. Now my steps now is geared towards us working for each other to build something for them, our children.
Those are like some of the best times in my life, because like we would just watch movies and go out all the time. He was a good father to my children, walking them to school. Like it was awesome. I got to see what a real dad was like with kids.
A lot of kids don't have the opportunity to grow up with 2 parents in the house. It just now, no disrespect to nobody, it's just now It doesn't make a difference if you're black, white, Spanish. It doesn't make a difference.
He always talks too much about my blood brother.
You don't have a two-parent. You don't have a two-parent household. And it's like, I tell my kids all the time, y'all really don't understand how lucky y'all are to have two parents. Especially two parents who are out here kicking your ass. You know, like, we have one rule in this house. School. When it's school time, school. Outside of that, you can do whatever you want to do. You can go wherever you want to go. I mean, not everywhere, but you know, we have restrictions. Trust me when I tell you, you can't go everywhere. But it's like, be a kid. Don't try to be something that you're not ready to be until it's time to be it.
In the beginning, it was rough because I had a lot of issues with trust. Just thinking back, like in our relationship, things that we went through, definitely trust issues. You know, you dealing with somebody coming home from jail, you know, been with women in a long time. So it was like the infidelity in the beginning. Not a lot, but like, you know, I had to go through that.
And it was like, I came home thinking I can be young again. You can't be young. It just doesn't happen. No matter how many years you sat in the box, those years are gone. They're lost. So whoever watches this, listen to me when you understand. Do not try to make up for lost time, because you cannot recapture something that is lost. It just doesn't happen.
And then there was abuse in the beginning of a relationship, like a lot of fighting. And no fighting is right on either side. And I'm no easy win, you know, you know, like I'm always gonna fight back. But it causes a cycle, you know, to like repeat itself. And I kind of was seeing that. And I was like, you know, wow, I'm going through the same type of stuff that my mom went through.
I know how far to go. She know how far to go. Like in the beginning, it was like for years in our relationship was rough. It was abusive. I mean, people that know us, they know. I'm not going to get into particulars or whatever. I've fallen on my sword on our situations, and clear message. Abuse, whether emotional, physical, whatever, it's not okay. Whether you're a receiver or you're a giver, it's not okay. But it's just, you have to make it work. You know, it's like, it's a line. You know, like everybody has a line in the sand that nobody wants to cross. I don't cross her line. She doesn't cross my line. You know, we know how far to go to get to where we need to go to prove our point. You learn, because what you put into the air is what you get out of the air. If you put something negative into the air, you're going to get negative out of it. But it's like, you learn. You live and learn. You know, like, you have to live and learn. Life is about experiences. And from those experiences, you can either learn something, or you could just experience it and not go through anything and continuously have those same things. So,
my husband is totally my best friend. But in Pennsylvania, I've had people, you know, that I would call my friends. But in all reality, they ended up not being good friends. Especially with the career path that I was trying to go down. Like in the beginning, I really wanted to be a singer. That's all I wanted to be. And people took advantage of that. You know, I'll talk about a couple of friendships that just went sour. And I had to find that stuff out the hard way. My one friend, Denise, this is the first charge I have on my record. At 18, I was charged with retail theft. We're in JCPenney's. So she's in there stealing, and I got my baby with me. My daughter, Amira, she's like three or four or something at the time. And so like, we go to leave out the store, the security stops us, and he takes us in the back, and they're like, they seen her on camera, stealing and stuff like that. So I'm just there sitting there. So they asked me for my ID, and I'm, you know, as an 18-year-old, I had a lot of attitude, I had a lot of mouth. So I'm like, what you want my ID for? I ain't got nothing to do with this. So then they were like, oh, we need to search you and your daughter. Like, if you seen her stealing, like, okay, own up to your stuff. But she had stuffed all these shirts and stuff, and it was like size smalls. So I'm like, if I'm gonna steal something, it's gonna be something I'm gonna fit. But me just being arrogant and getting smart with the officer, he was like, oh, you ain't gonna let us search you? He was like, she's cooperating because she was letting them search her and all this stuff. So he was like, oh, since you want to be a smart ass, you're getting charged and she's not. And so I'm looking at her like, bitch, is you gonna stand up? Like, is you gonna say something? And she didn't say not one word. Like, let them literally call the police and arrest me in front of my daughter. Like, she had to take my daughter and meet me down at the police station. So I'm sitting in this car ready to cuss this bitch out. And she just immediately starts crying. Talk about, oh, I work at Schaffner. I was just thinking about my job. I didn't want to lose my job. So, bitch, my life ain't important. You know, like, it immediately made me see her for who she was. Because it's like, just because I live in the projects and I have a baby, you know, like, that was my stepping stone. You know, like, my record mattered to me. And then she kept saying, I'll pay for it. They're going to give you ARD because you don't have anything on your record. It costs like $500 and I'll pay for it, all of that. So we go through the whole little thing. You know, court takes about a year to go through the shit. You know, they keep continuing it and all that. So then when it comes time for her to pay the money for the ARD, this bitch is on vacation. So I'm like, is you going to pay the money or not? Like, literally, she didn't pay the money. Long story short, I end up getting a paper in the mail saying it's a warrant for my arrest. And I'm like, how is it a warrant for my arrest? What happened was, when she didn't pay the $500, it immediately kicked me out of the ARD program and kicked me back into the court system. They put it in the system like I didn't show up for my arraignment. They told me not to go to my arraignment because I was supposed to go to ARD. But being that ARD wasn't paid, it kicked me back into the criminal justice system. So then it was like, look, they were like sending me notices saying I didn't show up for my arraignment. Duh, you put me in ARD, I wasn't supposed to show up for my arraignment. But that was just a computer error that they made. But instead of them acknowledging their mistake, she tells me to come down there and they'll take the warrant out of the system and fix it. And then they'll put me back to another court date so I can deal with the actual charges now since I'm out of the ARD program. So I'm like, okay, I'll show up with my daughter to acknowledge the warrant. This bitch has a cop waiting for me. They arrest me, take my damn daughter, and try to put her in damn children youth. But my mom, well, Denise actually came and got her. I don't get bail because it's a warrant. Whenever you have a warrant, it looks like you didn't show up for court. You don't get bail. So literally, I'm out the county for 3 whole months waiting for another court date. And she did all this to me so you could look good or save your job with Schaffner. So immediately, like, our friendship was done. You know, after that, it could never be the same. And she was the godmother of both my children, my daughter and my son. Then another friendship, you know, like, I met guys in high school because I could sing, you know, and like, it's little hip hop artists and stuff like that. They know you can sing. They're like, oh, jump on this hook for me. But it was always like people wanted to use me for my voice, but never wanted to showcase me in their video. You know, it's like I wasn't good enough to be seen in your video because I'm not no big booty, big titty ass model or something like that. You know, like I always got treated like that. But my voice was so beautiful, they needed me on the track. And then I started trying to do stuff on my own. You know, like my husband would start investing in my studio time, and that's when I started really writing music on my own and focusing on myself, trying to put out my own album. And I met up with a group of people again that I went to high school with called Hustle Time. They were like popular in high school. He was doing his thing with music, you know, trying to go down south. They were pumping out, you know, songs and stuff like that, but just the typical artist, you know, trying to fight to get into the industry. And so like we linked back up, and he was telling me how he was writing books and stuff like that and was trying to get into that lane, you know, so like he's always came to me for ideals and stuff. So like when he presented the first book that he wrote to me, you know, like I was like, who wrote this? You know, like it was completely like whoever did the editing, like it was horrible. You know, like sentence fragments didn't go together. Like it was just terrible. And so like he wanted to do a part 2. And I'm like, okay. You know, like I read the first one to gather like what it was about. Then I started working on the second one. And so long story short, I'm pumping out all of these books, you know, for this person, hopping on all these tracks, and it's not moving me anywhere with my career, you know. And then like the nail in the coffin is just like, we're supposed to be a team, and when the books come out, it's no by such and such and Samira Randolph. I wasn't even in the thank you credits, you know. And it's like, how dare you? And my whole thing was always been like, give me the credit that I deserve. Like, you ain't got no money, we all ain't making no money. Don't ever act like you're bigger than anybody else. When you're on the billboards charting, when you're going viral, when you got about 200,000 views, 500,000 views, million views, and labels is coming at you, then you're credible. But if you're out here paying for features, you know, doing the same stuff we're doing, paying for studio time, paying people to do music videos, hoping that you get seen, we're all on the same level. You know, and we should all be striving for that same goal as a team. You can't be one person and you want everybody to pump you up and get you to that level, and then you say, fuck everybody else. I've known this person like literally since 10th grade. So we called each other brother and sister, like know him like the back of my hand. So we planned this. Well, it wasn't even planned, actually. He called me on a whim and was like, sis, let's go to Atlanta. I got some meetings set up with Tyler Perry. You know, we're going to talk about these books and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, wow. You know, he's finally including me in some stuff. You know, like, we about to go down here and really do some business. It was my band. I got family down south, everywhere. You know, so I had family in Atlanta that said we could stay at their house, so we ain't got to pay for no hotel. I'm even paying for the gas. Like, so I'm just telling him, at least you could do is pay for the food, like something. Never wanted to come out his pockets for nothing. You know, like, I literally was the backbone and the financial bank behind everything that this person was doing. Like, ride or die, hustle team, you know, everything pushing this person. We go to my cousin's house, get situated. He tells me he needs to take the car so he can go to the mall, get him an outfit and stuff. So I'm like, cool. Literally was gone for like 2 days with my car. I'm watching him on Instagram. He's at parties and shit. Like, just doing him. You know, and I'm texting him like, yo, like, baby, my car. Like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. So, like, now I realize, like, okay, he's living his best life trying to promote the books and get himself a record deal, get on or whatever he's trying to do at these meetings. And you just done left me behind. And you got my damn car. Then he calls and he's like, oh, I had to do this. I'm down here trying to take care of business. Like, no, you didn't. Because I done talked to your baby's mom. She told me she put you out. So basically this trip was a whim to try to prove to her like he's popping. He's going to all these parties. It wasn't even no business meeting set up for real. Like, he literally lied because you got put out and you wanted me to drive you to Atlanta so you could party and do you and make your baby's mom jealous. Like, you literally wasted my goddamn time for that. And it was my daughter's birthday weekend. So, like, when I told him he had an hour to bring me my car, he gonna call me telling me your car is at the Waffle House on such and such drive. So I get to my car, this bitch flatted all my tires, ripped out my stereo deck, stole the $300 that I had in the car for my gas money and shit to get home. Then was sending me, like, saying all these dumbass messages to me, talking about, bitch, figure out how you gonna get home and all this stuff. Like, how the fuck you do that to me? And you the one use me. So now I put out there, like, I'm releasing emails, like everything, showing everybody that I'm the real person behind everything that has to do with him. I'm the one that wrote these books. I'm the one that wrote that verse for that track he just laid. Like, literally, I am the brains behind this person. There would be no person if it was no me. So that really pissed him off because he didn't want nobody to know he wasn't this great author, you know, this great rapper. No, she's a great author. She's a great rapper. And so he's just trying to, like, make everybody turn against me. You know, like, he really had people, like, not fucking with me, telling people not to record me. And, you know, when I was trying to get studio time, I remember every comment because this man made videos talking about my kids, calling my daughters dick sucking whores, and people was liking it, sharing it.
Child abuse charge, you got your face on the news. A horrible mom. Deserve what you've been through. You You trying to kill your daughter and your son too. Teaching your daughters how to be whores. She 12 sucking dick already on all fours. The apple don't fall too far from the tree. Your dad was sticking dick in your ass since you was 3.
Like, he really went hard at me, trying to destroy my life. Like, at the time, you know, I was going through personal stuff in my relationship. I was going through stuff with my 17-year-old daughter, just thinking she was grown. Accident happened with the city, you know, so like I had a lot of heat on me at the time, you know, and the city was trying to destroy my life, literally, you know, and he took the opportunity to weigh on that even more when he knew the truth. Like, he knew I wasn't no abusive mother, but he laid his foot on that, you know, like he knew the truth behind everything, but kept sharing it, talking about how can y'all believe she wrote my books and she's a child abuser, you know. So like, if people dug deeper, they would see it was bullshit. The children and youth investigation was unfounded. They said no, nothing ever happened, because it didn't happen. Like, I took the girl's cell phone and she was pissed and ran away from home and went to the police that I had a lawsuit against. So for this person that was the CEO or head of Hustle Time, that was supposed to be my brother, my best friend, for you to be sharing that newspaper article when they tried to slander me in the paper, you know, saying, oh, how could y'all believe this person wrote my books and she's a child abuser? And people are so stupid. Yeah, she's an abuser. Like, just clout chasers. Even his team members knew I wrote them books. They know I write lyrics for him. They knew I was the GOAT behind everything. But they not gonna say nothing. And he talks about them like a dog. Calls them all broke. Talks about their kids. Talks about their baby's moms. Talks about how they borrow money from him all the time. Like, he's had a couple of them arrested before. You know, like, he's a very slimy individual. And they don't even realize that about him. And that's why I won't even say his name. Your Hustle Team. You get no credibility off of me. So like, it showed me a whole nother side in business. It showed me a whole nother side with that friendship. And it's just like, I can't trust nobody. I've never had no support from family or friends here in Harrisburg. You know, like, it was just always seemed fake to me. People that say that they love you. And I went through some real stuff, you know, that people just looked at like it was a movie going on. You know, when my house burnt down, a friend of mine was like, you know, come stay with me. I have a 5-bedroom, you know, you can come stay here with us, because the Red Cross only paid for my hotel for 3 days. My kids don't want to be in this shelter, because I had to go to a shelter after the 3 days was up at the hotel. And she was like, you know, come stay over here. And it was grateful that my fire happened during tax time, because I had money to find a place. So I'm staying with this friend, paying her monthly rent, and she was more than happy to take my money, you know, like bleed me out of my income taxes, like literally was trying to use me up. And she the type of person that, like, if she have a problem, she'll go off and like go off so loud so you can hear it, type of thing, and make you feel uncomfortable. But she would say stuff like, everybody got to get the fuck out of here, don't mind if my light bill don't get paid. My light bill's got to get cut off, it's $2,300. Like, why should I be responsible for that? But she would say shit like that, like, everybody gonna get the fuck out my motherfucking house if my light bill ain't paid. So I paid a $2,300 light bill. So I done already gave you $1,000 to stay here for the month. Now I done gave you $2,300 out of my income tax to pay your fucking light bill. And I'm like, how am I supposed to save? Like, how am I supposed to get a place when everybody's just digging in my pockets? So like, literally in the middle of the night, it was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, her and her man is arguing. And she's like, everybody got to get the fuck out. Like, what did we do to you? Oh, but you got my money already. So I snapped. Like, I took the motherfucking ice trays. Everything I bought in that bitch, cans, meat, I didn't give a damn. Laundry detergent, anything I bought in that goddamn house, I took it the fuck out of there. But just to have to live on edge like that, people always made me feel uncomfortable, you know, when they called themselves wanting to do something for me. And it always made me not want to go to people when I was going through stuff. So like, if Samara's suffering, you'll never know Samara's suffering, because I've been treated like shit my whole entire life. Even made fun of me, like during that time when I was going through it with Hustle Time, people was like, oh, that bitch is handicapped and didn't nobody donate to her GoFundMe, she's a weak bitch. Y'all think that's funny? So then I had to go to another one of our friends' house, and they don't have any room. They have a 2-bedroom. He has a woman, she has 3 children, and then he had his son living there. So now it's me and my 5 kids in his dusty ass basement, and it's wintertime. And keep in mind, we're paying his rent too now. Giving you all of my food stamps, you know, cooking meals for everybody every day. Because when I go somewhere, I'm cleaning your house, I'm cooking, I'm doing all of that. I'm showing my gratitude for you allowing me to stay here. So you don't gotta worry about washing clothes, you don't gotta worry about cleaning. Like, I play my part, you know, like, but it was just always something. Like, I always just got used, even when I did do shows, like trying to promote myself. So you're dealing with adult promoters. You're thinking like this is going to be professional business. There's always something with them. Oh, we had to cancel the show. But you done got all this money out of people for tickets, so you making me look like a dickhead. You know how many times I had to deal with that? Or then if you even get through the show, then when you get time and it's like, okay, give me my cut. Oh, the DJ ran off with the money box. Oh, my wife took the money box and I'm gonna have a check for you in the morning. And then you never get a call. Like, I ain't got time for that shit. And that's why I'm on my grind, like, with everything that I do. You know, and I don't care if it takes me from the bottom to climb. Like, I build, what I'm trying to do is build business, you know, like purchase homes so I can rent them out to inmates coming home from prison so they can have a housing plan. You know, like started my own record label so I can put out other artists that have a dream and actually put the finances behind them if you're that good. Like, it ain't about me, you know, anymore. I said, like, I do just to say I don't, to say I do again, because I do plan on marrying him again. But in 2016, like, I actually divorced my husband when he had cheated on me. And so it was kind of like the final nail in the coffin type of thing. And I was just kind of tired of like the fighting and all of that. And I didn't want to be tied down anymore. I didn't want to be stressed anymore. You know, like I was just kind of freeing myself of everything, going through physical therapy. I had got a hip replacement. You know, I was trying to get focused on getting the weight off. I was going through the weight loss program. That's why I'm down 278 pounds today. My highest weight was 410, and right now I weigh 142. I just wanted kind of like a new beginning for myself. And I divorced him, but I'm like, it wasn't nothing out there that I really wanted. You know, I was really scared to date. You know, I'm afraid to meet new people. So me and my husband, we would just, you know, always remain friends. You know, he always took it, you know, like, okay, if she wants to move on, I'm gonna respect that and wait for her to get that out of her system. You know, he always gave me time to kind of figure out what I wanted, and I always respected that about him. He did snap. We worked through that. We actually went through some counseling, and I forgave him. And like to this day, like, he's never ever laid a hand on me. He won't raise his hand to me. He won't raise his voice to me. And we don't push those buttons, you know, for each other anymore. We know that that's not healthy. You don't, if you have a problem in your relationship, you work it out. You talk it out. You don't go to another woman. You don't go to another man. And you don't bring those type of issues in your relationship. You know what buttons to push to make your spouse mad. You know, you don't go there. And so, like, I had to really grow up and learn to not fight my battles that way when it comes to my relationship. So that's why I say he's solid with me for life.
And it's like, our bond is different. Like, people don't understand. It's like, we were divorced, like we were married, divorced, now we're engaged. But throughout all of this time, throughout all of these years, everything that we've been through, we've always lived together. Mm-hmm. Like, we've been homeless together. Like, literally, like, we've been homeless. Like, we know struggle. And like, people don't understand our bond. Like, our bond is really unique and different. Like, we've been through everything you possibly could think of. I done had 2 heart surgeries. Who was there? Her. I done got rushed to the hospital. Who was there? Her. She had her surgeries when her hip was messed up. Who was there? Me. Like, it's always been us.
When it was like the turmoil in the beginning of our relationship, because my first thing, like, I would always be like, I'm not dealing with anybody hitting me. You know, like, I'm not dealing with any more abuse, because I had already been in that position that I'm not letting nobody hurt me no more. So I didn't really understand what I was doing when I would like call the police on him or get PFAs on him. And psychologically, it was messing with him, because he's like, wow, you know, you love me and you're putting me back in this cage that I done been in 18 years. you know, and that was building a wedge in our relationship. But the county, they're like, oh no, throw this man in jail. And I'm like, how can you throw the father of your children in jail, you know, for a simple misunderstanding? You know, like if he might have yoked me up or you know, smacked me or something like that. And okay, so it's not okay, you know, but give him some anger management, or, you know, like I didn't feel like that was worth giving him 10 years because of his background of a murder. They was trying to throw the book at him, you know. So like I wouldn't show up for court, and they would put like contempt charges out on me, trying to arrest me for not showing up for court. Like they actually arrested me a couple times, but the county got pretty much sick of me, you know, like, why do you keep going back? But they didn't understand also, like, I've come from a history of abuse, you know, and instead of them actually having somebody come in and give me counseling or maybe talk to me or help us, you know, maybe go through some like couples counseling, it was always throw them in jail, you know, like that was always the solution for this county. And if you didn't want to throw them in jail, they were going to try to throw you in jail for not pressing charges on that person. You know, like they would blow things completely out of proportion that didn't need to be. And then it would make you not even want their services, period. It's like, get the hell away from me, you know? And it made us stronger, you know, in our relationship, because we knew that we only had each other. You know, during our relationship, we've experienced a house fire, you know, like in 2013. He was actually in prison on a violation of a PFA, because I had a PFA against him. And somebody set our house on fire in the middle of the night. They set the house next door on fire, and it got onto our roof. And to this day, I wonder, like, you know, who did that? And at the time, I was going through a lawsuit with Harrisburg City Police. It was all in the newspaper. They were mad because I had sued them for excessive force, because they had arrested me one time, that me and my husband got into a domestic, and they arrested me, and I'm pregnant, you know, because they were sick and tired of me calling the police on him and not going through with charges. So the Officer Regal, she was like, you know what, maybe you need to sit in jail a couple days so you can stop going back to him. So that's what I got arrested for. And while I was downtown, I'm in the back of the police car, and I'm handcuffed by my back. They got me shackled on my feet and everything. I'm pregnant. The officer opens the door, Officer Weber, and he says, you know, get the fuck off the truck. And I'm like crying, because I'm like trying to figure out how I have a PFA and I'm getting arrested, you know. And then he's like, he don't give a damn if I'm pregnant with triplets. And he was like, you got 2 seconds to get off the truck. So I'm just begging for a supervisor, like saying, please, you know, like, why did y'all arrest me? He whips out his mace and maces me in my face and closes the door and told me to suck on that bitch. So I started gagging and throwing up, because he left me in there with all that mace. So I'm just sucking in pepper spray, throwing up. So they're outside the truck laughing. So then he opens the door, grabs me, and jerks me off the truck onto the ground. I'm pregnant. Doesn't give a damn. Takes me into the police station. I got throw up all over me. They give me some scrubs, like prison scrubs. Had me change in front of all the police officers, male, female. Inmates could see me that was in the bar right there and everything. Had me change right there in the lobby. Everybody's calling me disgusting, gross. They the officers were making comments like, ugh, they didn't want to see that. Because this is when I was like 370 some pounds. So I was bigger at the time. So I'm just sitting there bawling, like crying. And this corporal comes over, a lady, she comes over, I think her name was Shanahan or something like that. She comes over and, you know, telling them to take me to the back room. Like, you know, and this was what I sued them for. You know, so like all this was going on during the time that my house got set on fire. So I've always wondered, like, did it have something to do with them? Because they were all pissed off about that lawsuit. Like, these people have literally, like, destroyed my life and crushed my dreams. But it was just like, you know, stuff that made it difficult on our relationship that they tried to do. And I'm glad that we were able to see beyond the systemic abuse that rips apart minority families.
So she came up for Thanksgiving to Pennsylvania. I went down to North Carolina for Christmas. I drove from here to North Carolina. Then we drove to her brother's house, and we wound up having Christmas at her brother Buddy's house. And when I tell you, like, he'd never seen me like never seen me a day in his life, and like he opened his house up for me on Christmas. He bought me gifts for Christmas. Yeah, like I didn't even know I was going to Tennessee with her. I thought I just was going to North Carolina. So I go back down there February, like the first week of February. I catch a train down there because I'm staying down there like for a couple of weeks at this time. I had to go from here to Philadelphia, DC, all when I get down there at 11 o'clock at night. The next morning, my little sister calls me and was like, my father had a heart attack. Like, he had a massive heart attack. And she was like, you have to get back to New Jersey. If you don't get back to New Jersey, like, daddy's gonna be dead and I don't want to die by herself. I'm like, I'm panicking. I don't know how I'm gonna get back. How I'm gonna, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how I'm gonna get.
He was like completely distraught.
So I'm like, okay. So she was like, I'm gonna drive you up there. I'm like, huh? She was like, yeah, I'm gonna pack the kids up and we're gonna go get a rental car and we're gonna leave.
I drove 14 hours to Jersey.
She drove 14 straight out. I didn't drive not 1 minute of the drive, not one. She drove 14 hours straight from Concord, North Carolina to Newark, New Jersey. Straight shot.
We got to see him before he passed away. But I say, you really truly have to go through things in a relationship to make it really last. And I feel like that was the foundation. I mean, kind of like the bullshit that we went through in the beginning. And now it's beautiful, like he's my best friend. He's my rider. We're like 16 years in. And I could never see myself with anybody else.
I know it hurts, cause I've been treated like dirt since all my life. Men been trying to get up under my skirt, contemplating ending my life, not knowing that the answers to my questions lie within me. All I had to do was listen, pay attention to this knowledge that I'm giving you. Spit this game that he prophesied for me to get to you. This is my testimony, on nights when I was cold and lonely, searching for love, consumed with lust, my trust, abused by those closest to me. My worth is destined by the chosen one above me. My life was written long ago, so don't you judge me. My faith is all that kept me from a life of danger, so I try to hold on and maintain. If you get my life, I pay the price to sacrifice my daily strikes that plague my life on quiet nights. My body fights to stay in light. Though I try to make it right, I always seem to lose my sight. I'm focused on a greater flight. Lord, please help me. Heaven isn't close to sinners. It's open to those new beginners that wanna make a change. We're living in these days. Why won't you go get saved so you can sing? Abused, abandoned, and cursed. The ones that claim to love you only hang around for the thirst. Wish I could have chosen my first, but I didn't. Now the pain is buried deep inside, and so I laid it down on this verse. I was racing through a war zone, trying to find my sanity. By the grace of God, I was dealing what they handed me. Look what things has landed me. Popos, they abandoned me. If I had lost my son, I swear to God, you see a side of me. Then I die eternally.
Now I've talked to your older sister. Has anybody told you to tell me something today, or not tell me something?
No. It was never like, Miss Randolph, how can we help you? Are you okay? It was always like the attitude like, ugh, this bitch again. So in 2014, I was hit by Harrisburg City Police Department. So it was like that little bullcrap, but she's refusing to put key points in there. It's like they never want the county to be held responsible for their actions. They will never take accountability for the things that they did.